Commander Eva Rostova's fingers hovered over the console, the hum of the resonance a low thrum in her bones. Outside the viewport, the galactic core blazed, a chaotic riot of light and energy that made her stomach clench. The swarm was coming. Not with ships, not with weapons, but with silence. A creeping, mind-numbing quiet that devoured sound, then light, then thought. They called it the Great Muting, and it had already consumed 12 systems. Her orders were simple. Reach the galactic center, find the source, and stop it. With music, her crew of artists, composers, and sound engineers were humanity's last hope. The first notes of their counter-symphony had barely left the ship when the silence hit. Not an absence of sound, but a presence, a cold, heavy pressure that made her teeth ache. The resonance shuddered as the swarm's influence seeped through the hull. Cale adjusted his headphones, the discordant feedback from the ship's speakers making his temples throb. He was a composer, not a soldier, but here he was, trying to turn screaming static into a weapon. The swarm's silence was a wall, a perfect vacuum of noise. Every note he sent against it vanished, absorbed without a trace. It's like shouting into a black hole, he muttered, his fingers flying across the control panel. The Resonance-S AI, Lyra, projected a holographic waveform, flat, dead, unresponsive. The swarm isn't just absorbing sound, Eva said, her voice tight. It's erasing it. We need to give it something it can't handle. Cale stared at the waveform, then at the chaotic energy outside the viewport. The galactic core was a mess of overlapping frequencies, a cosmic symphony of destruction. What if they didn't fight the silence with sound? What if they fought it with more silence? The swarm came not as a fleet, but as a shadow. It pooled in the void outside the resonance, a vast, shifting mass that drank the light from nearby stars. Eva watched, her knuckles white on the console. It's adapting, she said. Our silence tactic worked for a few seconds, but now it's ignoring us. Cale shook his head, his eyes wide with manic inspiration. No, it's not ignoring us. It's listening. It's learning. He pulled up a recording of the swarm's interaction with their silence, a pattern of faint, almost subsonic ripples in the energy field. It's not just absorbing sound. It's processing it, like a composer studying a score. Eva's blood ran cold. If the swarm was learning, then their every attempt to fight, it was just feeding it more data. They needed a mistake. A beautiful, glorious, catastrophic mistake. Lyra, run every possible dissonance algorithm, Cale ordered, his voice ragged. The ship's AI complied, spitting out a cacophony of clashing notes, jarring rhythms, and atonal chords. The swarm's shadow outside the ship pulsed, responding to each new assault. It's getting stronger, Eva warned, pointing to the energy readings. Each dissonance makes it more coherent. Cale slammed his fist on the console. Then we give it the ultimate dissonance. Something it can't process. Something that breaks its pattern. He pulled up a file labeled Project Chimera, a composition he'd abandoned years ago, a chaotic mess of conflicting melodies, time signatures, and emotional tones. It was designed to be unlistenable, a failure. But what if failure was the key? Lyra, amplify it. Maximum output. The resonance shuddered as Project Chimera blared into the void. It was a sonic nightmare, a wall of noise that tore at the crew's eardrums, a cacophony of screaming violins, distorted drums, and a choir wailing in a dozen languages. Outside, the swarm's shadow recoiled, then surged forward, absorbing the chaos. But something was wrong. The energy readings spiked, not with coherence, but with confusion. It's fragmenting. Eva breathed, watching the holographic display. The swarm's once uniform shadow was now breaking into smaller, erratic pieces. Cale, it's working. Cale grinned, his face slick with sweat. Of course it is. Perfection is predictable. Chaos is infinite. The swarm can't handle infinity. The swarm's counterattack was swift and brutal. It wasn't a weapon, not in the traditional sense. It was a presence, a psychic pressure that made the crew's thoughts feel thin and stretched. Eva clutched her head as memories surfaced. Her father's death, the day the swarm had consumed her home colony. The sound of her own screams echoed in her mind. It's using our own pain against us, she gasped, stumbling to the console. Cale wasn't immune. His hands trembled as he tried to regain control of the audio systems. the swarm's influence twisting his compositions into mournful dirges. "We can't fight it like this," he muttered. "We're just feeding it more pain." Eva looked at the crew, faces pale, eyes wide with terror. They were artists, not soldiers. But they were also human. And humans were experts at turning pain into beauty. "Lyra, record everything," Eva ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Every scream, every memory, every note of dissonance. We're going to give the swarm a symphony of sorrow." Kale stared at her, then nodded. "It's not just about noise anymore. It's about story. We'll turn their weapon against them." The crew rallied, each member contributing their own pain. A violinist playing the lullaby her sister had sung before the swarm took her, a drummer beating out the rhythm of his father's last heartbeat, a singer wailing a lament for a lost love. The resonance filled with a raw, gut-wrenching melody, a tapestry of human grief. Outside, the swarm's shadow pulsed, then seemed to hesitate. The swarm didn't retreat. It listened. The psychic pressure eased, replaced by a strange, almost curious silence. Eva and Kale exchanged a look. "It's trying to understand," Kale said slowly. "It's never encountered anything like this. Pain isn't logical. It's not efficient." Eva leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the display. "Then we give it something it can't understand. Joy." The crew looked at her, confused. "Joy," one of them asked. "How can we play joy when we're drowning in sorrow?" Eva smiled, a fragile, determined expression. "Because joy is the most chaotic emotion of all. It's irrational. It's messy. It's everything the swarm can't process." Kale's eyes lit up. "Of course. We'll turn sorrow into joy. A symphony of resilience." The new composition was born in the fire of their pain. The violinist's lullaby transformed into a triumphant fanfare. The drummer's rhythm became a defiant march. The singer's lament shifted into a soaring anthem. The resonance pulsed with energy, the crew's voices rising in a chorus of defiance. Outside, the swarm's shadow recoiled, then surged forward, but this time, the attack was different. It wasn't a psychic pressure, it was a question. A wave of pure curiosity washed over the ship, the swarm's influence softening into something almost awed. "It's not fighting anymore," Eva whispered, watching the display. "It's wondering." Kale nodded, his hands flying across the console. "We gave it a story it couldn't predict. Now we give it a resolution." The final note hung in the air, a single, pure tone that resonated through the resonance and into the void. The swarm's shadow didn't vanish. It changed. It shimmered, then resolved into a new form. Not a consuming silence, but a delicate, intricate pattern of light, like a galaxy born from sound. Eva smiled, tears streaming down her face. "It's not a weapon anymore," she said. "It's art." Kale looked at her, then at the crew, their faces alight with exhaustion and triumph. "We didn't just fight the swarm," he said. "We taught it to sing." The galactic core blazed behind them, no longer a threat, but a canvas. And humanity, for the first time, wasn't just surviving the universe. It was creating it.